Well, here I am on the far bank of Syndicate Lake at Gold Valley, and the conditions today are perfect to show you the method that I've had in mind. As you might recall, on my DVD about method feeder fishing, I did touch on the subject of balling it close and fishing a method feeder over it, and it's a method that has really come to fruition over the last few weeks. Some big matches have been won on it, and I think with the weather being like it is today, it's the ideal opportunity for me to show you exactly how to do it and the kind of bags that you can catch on this. Like I say, we've all got to the venue when we fancy fishing a pole or a waggler, and we're faced with bad weather conditions like today. The wind's actually dropped, but it's still very, very strong, and would make good presentation on the float, waggler or pole very, very difficult indeed. So obviously then you're faced with the decision of fishing one rod. At distance you're going to catch some fish, but that's not to say you should neglect not only the short line but also the margins, and that's what we're going to look at today, catching fish at close quarters on the method feeder. The two lines I'm going to target today, one about 6 metres out where I'm going to ball it. I'm going to throw 5 or 6 balls of ground bait with some sweet corn in it and fish a method feeder over it. The second line is up to the next platform. Again, I've won 2 or 3 matches lately in bad conditions fishing a method feeder up to the next platform. And all I'm going to do there is every half hour, 20 minutes, just throw a little nugget of ground bait, really the size of a method feeder, and then later on in the session, just underarm a method feeder there and hopefully catch some of the big fish. Like I say, you would definitely catch more on the pole, but the way that the wind's been, and the weather especially, it's much easier to fish with a method feeder. There's nothing worse than having fish in your peg and battling with your pole trying to hold it still, and the method feeder does definitely score, especially in bad conditions when presentation is of the utmost importance. So now it's a case of getting the bait ready, throwing in 5 or 6 balls of ground bait on the short line, a couple of balls up to the next platform, and then starting and trying to put a few fish together in bad conditions. Well, here I am, I'm ready to start. I've prepared the ground bait. I've mixed up 3 bags of the Fishmeal Magic, which again is my favourite ground bait at this moment in time. Really is good not only for the carp, but also there's a massive head of skimmers and bream in this lake, as there is a lot of the commercials, and these are the kind of fish that you don't want to be passing up on. Carp are the ones that are going to put the serious weight in your net, but there is a good chance of bream, and in these conditions when there's a real strong wind, they can have a good go, and they're handy fish to have in between the carp. So 3 bags of the Sensus Magic fish meal. As you can see, the ground bait's there. It's mixed slightly on the damp side, again, which is good for balling in and also good for the method feeder. Got my method mould already. I've added some sweet corn to the balling mix. I'm only putting 5 balls in, but like we've spoke about in the past, the fish meal is a high food content and a very powerful ground bait, so I don't want to go introducing lots and lots. 5 balls is always enough, and if things aren't going to plan and I want to try and attract some more fish, I've got plenty of ground bait mixed up and some more can be thrown in. Now, although we're fishing at very close quarters, accuracy is still very, very important to me. So what I'm going to be doing is filling the method feeder up. As you can see there, I've got a 30 gram Drennan method feeder up. The method feeder will be filled up, the bail arm opened and then swung out, and when the method feeder hits the water, then I'll release the line so that I know I'm in exactly the right place, and the same place more importantly, all the time. And not only that, at the start when I throw my ground bait in, I'll just underarm my method feeder out, keep an eye on exactly where it lands, and that's where the ground bait will be thrown. Like I say, you can catch a serious weight of fish like this because these carp are used to feeding and being caught on a method feeder, and just at close range in these conditions it can be the #1 method. When other people have chosen to fish the pole or the waggler, they can really struggle in conditions like this, and just get nice and comfortable, and fishing like this you can be rewarded not only with some massive fish but with a match win as well. what I'm going to do up to the next platform is literally just throw an odd nugget. The fish that I'm fishing for down there won't be turning up until later on in the session. It's a last hour gambit really. So an odd ball down there, just build it up all the way through the match or the session, and then have a look down there with about an hour, hour and a half to go, and hopefully catch some of the bigger fish that are in the lake. So like I say, the balls are made up, ready to go. I'm going to put it in and then hopefully catch some fish. So like I say, what I'm going to do, I'm just going to underarm the feeder in, watch where it lands on the water, knowing that that's where I'm going to fish, and then throw the 5 balls in quite a close area in exactly that place. You can see the wind's really getting up now, and this is a stage in a match where I'd be thinking that I've definitely made the right decision. So it's a case of just underarming it to the marker, watching exactly where it lands, and then throwing the balls on top. There, perfect. And then I can put this down. The beauty is when you're fishing like this, you can always have the first hour of the match fishing at range while the fish come to here. Today I'm going to start on this line because we're pleasure fishing and the conditions are absolutely bang on. The wind's driving in very, very hard, and hopefully there should be some fish pushed into this line. And all I'm going to do, like I spoke about, every 20 minutes, half hour, not a big ball, but with a little bit of corning, just dropped up to the next platform. A couple in to start with. There, and that's fine. And basically, what I'm showing you today is a bad weather tactic. It's something that can really make a hard day's fishing very easy and also very rewarding. So now it's a case of just arranging my bait tray. Haven't got lots of baits, ground bait, corn. I've got a few barrel bait boilies, which again, if roach are a pain on the sweet corn, I can change to. This may well be a good gambit if, like I say, the little fish are a bit of a pain, but corn's my #1 bait today. Like I say, these commercials, they change all the time. 1 minute boilies are best, the next minute hard pellets banded, and at the moment sweet corn seems to be the #1 bait here on the method feeder. So like I say, now it's a case of just getting comfortable. The wind's really getting up now, as you can probably hear and see on the water. It's a case now of getting comfortable, just underarming it, keeping everything nice and accurate, and trying to catch some fish. Now, like I say, close quarter carping, as I like to call it, on a rod, it can be very, very violent fishing, and by this I mean the bites that you get. So it's a case of having your clutch set, like I say, because the rods will really go round quick. You're only fishing 5 or 6 meters out, and some of these big carp pick it up, and some of the bites can be, like I say, quite savage. So I have the clutch just slipping so that when the rod goes, I've got a little bit of extra security that I'm not going to get broke on the bite. So like you can see, I've got the sweet corn already on the hair. It's a case of filling the feeder. Like so, and then a little bit just with the corn pushed in. There. Perfectly loaded method feeder. And like we spoke about, the right amount of line, I'm just going to swing it out, and then as soon as the feeder hits the water, just let your finger off. This way you know that your feed is hitting the water in exactly the same place every time. Therefore it'll be hitting the bottom at exactly the same place, right where you've thrown the balls in. Everything's nice and accurate, so that if those big fish do turn up on the short line, you're definitely going to be rewarded with some bites. Like I say, it's a case now of concentrating on the tip, because one thing that won't happen, it won't be shy. They won't be shy bites. Literally your rod will be there 1 second and then gone the next, which is why the importance of the clutch is like I say, of utmost importance. The bream won't be quite as savage, but like I say, if you can imagine a 6, 8, 10, 12 pound carp takes it at close range, the one thing that you're going to get is quite a violent bite. Well, the rod's in position now. I haven't had any signs as yet, but hopefully some fish will come to that ball, and it just gives me a little bit of time to talk about the gear. It's a 10-11 foot Arity bomb rod, used at 10 foot. It's my favourite tool for most of my carping when it comes to feeder fishing. The reel is a 4000 Team Daiwa loaded with 10-pound ST. The method feeder is a 30-gram small Drennan, which goes in conjunction with the Drennan mould. I do sometimes use the small Preston feeder, but that's more in the colder months when a much smaller feeder is needed. When the fish are having it, the number one choice for me is definitely the Drennan method feeder. You can get a bit more bait, there's a bit more area for the fish to come over. It really is my favourite one. As far as the hook length and hooks concerned, 022 Super G line, very strong, very durable line, and a size 12 Teflon coated Super Specialist eyed hook, tied with a knotless knot, a small hair with a loop on. And the reason I'm using this, I can put a boilie or a piece of sweet corn on, so it is quite a versatile way of hooking your bait. If you have a boilie spike or a band, obviously then you're quite limited to what you can put on it. A hair now, for me, with a loop on, is definitely the number one choice because it's very versatile. Well, there you go. That's a typical bream that you're going to catch on this kind of method. Like I say, the wind's really coming up now, and it's nice just to be sitting here nice and comfortable, in total control of all the presentation. And like I say, other people, if they'd have decided to fish a pole today, would definitely be having trouble. I would have thought 4 or 5 metres tops, and even then it would be hard to control. So haven't had any carp yet, had 2 or 3 bream. Normally though, the bream are the first fish to show up. But what's good in our attack today is we've also got the edge line, which hopefully later on in the session could produce some decent carp if this line doesn't. But the thing is, all the time you're putting fish of that quality in the net, especially in a match, you're not going to be far behind. Like I say, the bream bite's not quite as savage as the carp, but you do know that there's one on. Again, fishing at close quarters, as you can see, that last bream was probably close to 4.5 pound, and they're not going to be shy either. Just the weight of the fish itself is going to give you a decent bite. Well, here we are into the session, and to be quite honest, it's been really good. We've probably got a dozen carp, some of them well over 10 pound, and a number of decent bream. And I haven't even been up the edge yet, although it's getting to the time in the session where I think it could be worth having a look. I've thrown quite a few little nuggets of ground bait in the edge, and like I say, there's been a few carp in the deep water. You might have noticed now that the actual wind has died down a bit, but it is pouring down with rain. So I think within the next half hour I'll definitely be having a look up the edge. But like I say, we've had some decent fish, and it's just one thing I want to remind you about is to have your clutch set, because the bream have been decent bites today, but the carp, if I didn't have my clutch set, a number of them would definitely have broke me today. They really have been savage bites, and it's about getting that clutch set just right to give you that added security when your rod goes, just so that the time it takes you to pick the rod up, the clutch is just slipping and you're not going to get broke. Because like I say, one thing's for sure, on this kind of method, introducing ground bait, you're definitely going to hook some big fish. And hooking them closer in just means one thing, that they're going to pull very, very hard from the word go. But like I say, I think it's been a fantastic session so far. Some decent sized carp, and also some bream in excess of 4 pound. And like I say, in the next few minutes I'm definitely going to have a look down the edge just to see if there's a few more of the big fish that are in this lake that have congregated next to the next platform. We started the session fishing with sweet corn just to see what was there, and it has been the number one bait at the moment. We were getting quite a lot of fish, quite a lot of bream and odd carp, and I've switched to the white dumbbell bait, which not only in my mind is slightly better for the carp, but it's slightly more durable It's not going to come off after every single fish and allow me just to speed things up a bit. If sport does slow, I'll definitely try corn again, but at the moment the white dumbbells are definitely doing the business, as well as being slightly more durable. Sometimes I can unhook the fish, the dumbbell's still on, load the feeder up, drop it in again, and we're in again immediately. It really has been that quick at times. Well, there you go, it's a nice big mirror carp, typical fish that you're going to catch on the method, fished at close quarters. Fantastic fish to catch in not the best conditions, but like I say, fishing that short method will definitely catch you some decent fish. Well, there we go, we finished the session, and as you can see, the weather is nothing short of terrible really. The wind did die a little bit, although it's picked up again now, but the rain's been quite persistent and it's made it quite uncomfortable. However, it's perfect conditions to show you the short range method. Caught a fantastic weight of fish, probably close to 200 pounds. Went down the edge to the next platform and caught some very big fish, but did suffer a bit with snags. Got cut off a couple of times and lost the feeder, but there was a lot of fish down there. If it was a match scenario, I probably would have come back and fished in front of me, because every bite was landed. Down the edge we did suffer a bit with snags, but there was some big fish, and I think it just showed you how deadly this method can be. Like I say, when the weather conditions are reversed and against you, it really does come into its own. But don't forget it, especially on a nice day when you're fishing a pole, having trouble with foul hook fish, especially the carp, just drop your method there, tighten up to it, and even on the nicest of days, it could well get you out of trouble, and you will be surprised what you'll catch on it. Always try and read the weather conditions and pick the methods that are going to be in your favour. As you've seen today, the weather's been terrible, and I think that we've picked the bang on method for the conditions. And had it have been a match today, a lot of people trying to fish a pole or a waggler would definitely have come unstuck with the lack of presentation. So like I say, it's horses for courses, methods for different days, and the method that I've showed you today is definitely a winner on those horrible, uncomfortable days when the wind and rain really does make presentation difficult. So just to recap from the start, we threw in 5 or 6 balls of ground bait with some corn in. This was thrown in at the exact distance that we were fishing, just swung out from the reel out. As soon as the feeder hits the water, let the line go and it goes to the exact same place. Like I say, when you're fishing at close range like this, the fish are going to pull hard, the bites are going to be pretty ferocious, so there's no clip. So accuracy is still important. Just swinging your feeder out like we were, you're going to be accurate all the time. Fishing down the edge, I was casting to the far right hand side of the platform again, trying to be as accurate as possible. So although you're not clipping up, purely because the way that the fish are fighting and the bites, you're going to get snapped if you fish clipped up. You still want to try and be as accurate as possible. Very strong tackle, strong main line, strong hook lengths, thick wire hooks, and like I say, just when these days and the weather are against you, definitely give it a go, and don't be afraid to throw a bit of ground bait in just to kick start your peg and get it going. Well, there we go, I've recapped, I've showed you exactly how to fish this method, and I think it is definitely a good string to have to your bow. It can win matches and catch massive weights very quickly. As we have today, got far too many fish to show you. I would have said in excess of 200 pounds in the nets. So what I'm going to do is just get a pick of the carp out and show you the decent fish that we've caught today. Well, there you go, there's a few of the carp we've caught. I've put about a dozen carp back and well over 20 decent bream back. Like I say, you can see the size of some of the fish and also how quickly you can catch them. You can get them in very quick, and like I say, I think this bag of fish just here, let alone the ones we put back that was in the other net, It just goes to show what a deadly method that is, and in the right conditions it can be the only method and virtually unbeatable. Most of the fish caught in front of us, with a few of the bigger fish caught down the edge late on. Like I say, I hope you look in depth exactly what we've done today and keep it in your armoury for days like today when, like I say, it is virtually unbeatable. I'm going to get these fish back and go and get dry.